Tingles with flyby. Daily ASMR videos. Hello, my tinglings, and welcome to another educational ASMR video just for you. I really like educational ASMR videos myself. There's just something so tingly about just learning new facts, learning more about the world, but without any impetus that there's going to be a quiz or a test, just learning for the pure joy of learning. Well, today I am going to be teaching you about the greatest human invention. Or if it's not, it's gotta be very high up there. And that is the internet. Now, I worked for an internet company for about 4 years, and I worked in tech support, so I've done a lot to do with the internet. But it was really interesting because the company that I worked for, their philosophy on hiring tech support agents was that they wanted to have people who had good customer service skills, and they would teach you the rest. So I had a bit of history. I studied programming in high school, so I understood computers on the software side, but never really very much on the hardware side. And I still don't really understand computers that much because computers and the internet are actually quite different. But so the thing that was amazing to me was that the internet is actually a physical reality. And this is something that, if you kind of think it through, it has to make sense. It doesn't really make sense that it wouldn't be otherwise. But because of how it works for us, I think our interaction with the internet is usually in a much more wireless form. And so the idea of physical connection being the whole backbone and basis of the internet can actually be a bit of a new concept. So I'll tell you what that actually means. So, for example, if you are watching this video, which obviously you are, I am in Australia. So what I have done is I have uploaded this video here in Adelaide, and I don't know the exact path that it would take, but maybe I should grab out a map actually. Okay, I got us a map now. So I'm here in Adelaide, Australia. So I upload my videos on my phone. So I actually use wireless for that, so I'll just use my Wi-Fi. And so the signal that's actually going from my phone is wirelessly then going to my modem, which is downstairs. And then there's actually a wire that connects it, so it'll run down the local street and then connect into an interchange. That interchange will then have backhaul cabling, probably that heads towards Sydney is probably the path that it would go. It may go to Melbourne and then to Sydney, and then Australia and the US generally goes along this undersea cable. But so there's not really any magical way that we get around going across the ocean. There's actually a physical cable, just like the cable from the back of your modem into the wall. And then it probably connects into a computer, probably in LA, and would be stored there. I think that's where YouTube houses most of their stuff, but there's usually secondary copies in other places as well. But there's actually a physical cable at every point in that, except that first little point where I use my Wi-Fi to upload on to, the internet. So it's just that last tiniest little bit that is not an actual wire. So if you think of it that way, that means that there's actually wires that are connecting my house all the way to your house. And that is how we connect to each other. And these connections go all across the world. So I think that's pretty cool. Now, there are obviously so I have a fiber optic internet. This holds the same for any sort of ADSL, cable, even if you are using dial-up, that sort of thing. All of those have a physical wire. But obviously that's not the only way that we connect. So I'm going to talk about two other types of internet. Maybe a third as well, but we'll talk about these two because they're the main ones. So your mobile internet. So you obviously know you're not within, 10 meters of a modem anytime that you're using the internet on your phone over mobile data. Or I think they just call it data in the US. I don't know, we call it mobile data here. I've been away from the US too long to remember. Also because I never had a data plan in the US. Anyway, so the way that works is you have your cell tower over here, and then I'm over here talking on my phone, or more likely looking at my phone like this. And so the signal between here and here, much stronger, obviously, than the wireless signal. And so you have the signal go here to here, that's all wireless. But in the tower, there is physical cabling, which is then connecting. That connects back to all of the internet, this backhaul that connects all these other computers and devices that we have. So it's kind of fun. It's the same thing with satellite internet, but on an even longer scale. So what happens with satellite internet is you might have one house over here, and it's going to beam up its beam up to the satellite. And this is obviously rotating around the Earth, so this is a long ways away. This is also why there is a upper limit on the speed that satellites can get, because there is always going to be time that it takes, to complete this whole process, not just the half of it that I've shown you so far. So it goes up to the satellite, and then it actually beams back down to a main station. So this is the station that a satellite service is reading from. And then that is wired in and physically connected back to all the other computers and everything by the internet. And so if you understand that, you can actually start to understand the type of issues that you actually get with the internet. So if an undersea cable gets cut, there are pretty much every cable should have a contingency, so it can be routed in other directions. So for example, we could maybe route through Canada and then go over to like Minneapolis and then route back through. So, or we probably have a same, I mean, most often, well, we have one, so I think Melbourne to Sydney, so no, Sydney to Los Angeles is like the big hub, but I think there's also one that goes to San Francisco, and then I think there's also undersea cables that go to Melbourne instead. But we also have undersea cables going up to China and up in the Asia area too, from Australia. And so we can kind of route around. So it's actually really, really crazy to me when you actually understand how the internet works. How fast it actually works is mind-boggling to me. So when I am Skyping to my mom in New York, grab our map out again, we are actually physically connected, except for that last little bit of wireless that both of us are using. So I have wireless that's hooking me into there, and it's going off through there, going all the way across the US to hers, across her Wi-Fi, and to her. And there's pretty much no delay, minimal delay at all. That's so crazy. Like that is the distance that it's passing. Just back and forth, back and forth. And that to me is why the internet is the greatest human invention. It's a connection, though, obviously, that benefits because of the ability of computers to compute, because all of the information that we have stored on the internet, that's the other thing you have to understand, is that it's actually all physically stored somewhere. So when you Google something, that Google results page is plucking from all of, like from a database that Google actually houses on a specific computer. And there's usually redundancies, so probably the same information is held on 5, 10, 20, I don't know how many redundancies they have. But generally it's on multiple, so that if one computer goes down, you don't lose anything. So it's all, backing itself up constantly. But anytime you're going to a web page, you're looking at Facebook, you're looking at Instagram, you're actually physically connecting to a computer that has all that information. It's amazing to me. And especially, if you aren't going wireless and then, or want to be cheesy like me and then put your hand out on your modem, then you can actually physically be connected, not even have that last little bit of wireless. I mean, it's still connected because it's a wave, and that wave is a bit of connection, but it's just fascinating to me. So it's very humbling to live in these times, to have spent time working in a company that had to do with the greatest human invention, But it's really funny because it's actually just really mundane and simple things are what actually causes problems with the internet. So one of the biggest things that we used to have, because Australia until recently has been very ADSL based, and ADSL runs on a phone line. So your fiber optic cable is actually on fiber, which is, I think it's actually glass. It's what a fiber optic is, a very, very thin tube of glass. And so then it shoots light down. And it's actually a light signal. And that's why it can go really fast, because light is faster than sound. Whereas ADSL runs on a copper line, much like old phone lines. And so old ADSL lines for places where ADSL is the past, hopefully for most of you. Because ADSL can have lots of issues. But anyway, so there's just really simple problems that you can get, especially with these copper lines, which is if a little bit of the wire gets exposed and then it rains, then that copper can get a bit corroded. If you think about a penny or any sort of copper, when it gets that green on the surface, that's not very good for connecting your internet, and so it's going to make it go slower, have dropouts, or stop working altogether. And that's what I used to deal with a lot, is just trying to diagnose where the copper has gone wrong. When you have an issue like that, you pretty much, first you're diagnosing to make sure it's the copper, but after a certain point, you know probably that it's the copper that's gone wrong, and it's just, is it the cord going from the modem into the wall, or from the house out to the pit, or the pit back to the exchange? After the exchange, it's been fiber optics for a long time. They have very robust cabling. At least here. I don't know what actually the setup is like anywhere else, but I assume they use dark fiber most places. But yeah, that's basically the internet, is that it's actually a connection of all these different computers. Like a server is just basically a big computer that, connects lots of different things. So I think that's really, really cool. So I had to share that with you, teach you all about how the internet works. If you have more questions, let me know in the comments. If I don't know the answers, I'll do some research, find out for you, maybe make another video. So, thanks for joining me today, sharing with me on the greatest human invention, as we do every day over the internet with our daily ASMR videos. So, thanks for joining me, and I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye, my tinklings. If you're still awake, thank you for watching this video. If you're asleep, still thank you. Hit subscribe down below so that you can be the first person to see tomorrow's brand new ASMR video. Yes, I do a daily ASMR video just for you. Hit the thumbs up button if you liked this video, so that you can come back and watch it again and again and again. And comment down below for your chance to be featured in my monthly viewers appreciation video on the 25th. I would love to chat with you about this video or about anything else, from your funny pet stories to what's really worrying you right now. I just want to hear from you. I do try to reply to all genuine comments, so be sure